I'm not going to go out here and bite people on the neck and drain them of their blood, because I know that shit is wrong, and I know that I will be punished to the gods if I do it. So I do a 180. I do a 180, and I say, okay, I'll survive by getting me some steaks out of the damn deli and sucking the blood out of that shit, and I'll leave the damn humans alone, right? Who's missing their windscreen on their microphone? It's extremely annoying.
Windscreen.
See this big round black thing on my microphone? It's a windscreen, and what it does is it prevents. Well, it's official. I just got the official word from Arnold himself. The way I get rid of my little bicycle tire here is I must do a minimum of 200 crunches a day. That's straight from Arnold's mouth, literally. I just got through watching the video. So I'm gonna have to start crunching more, because I'm obviously not crunching enough. Now, I sit on the computer. I was a telemarketer for a few years, and it made me soft. That's where I went wrong. I took that telemarketing job where I had to sit on my ass for hours on a day, and
I've been working in a call center for the last 5 years.
You fucked me up, man. I stopped. I started getting a beer gut. Dude, I went when I entered basic training. I was 115 pounds. I barely made it in.
I wasn't that light, but I was light enough. I was 145, and then at the 2-week mark we got our weight, and I was at 165, and I think I gained another 5 pounds before we left.
Was it just like you were packing on like muscle, or was that not good weight? Was that good weight or bad weight?
Good weight.
It was good weight.
I was in many ways an effective. I was effectively anorexic at the time, so I wasn't eating right.
No.
And getting 3 squares a day.
Yeah.
In combination with the exercise, and which builds muscle, and muscle is
I was in the Air Force. We didn't get much exercise. We marched.
Right. Muscle weight is heavier than fat weight, and so it was easy to it was easy to hit the scale at 200, because of all the training. It wasn't hard to do. I didn't quite make it though, because like I said, I was so thin and sickly and frail. But I still came out of the Army at let's see, what was it, 165 or some shit, solid muscle, 10% body fat. And,
well, I had no body fat when I went in, so that wasn't a.
Yeah, I didn't either, but I mean, I'm just saying, that's how they set it up. They want you to have about 10% body fat. And it was really funny because I was in the Naval Sea Cadet Corps because my dad was career Navy in World War II. And so, Dad was, obviously wanting me to be a Navy person. And I was in the Naval Sea Cadet Corps, and I loved it. And the Naval Sea Cadet Corps didn't want me to leave. They wanted me to stay. I was taking tests to become an actual naval officer, those written test things. And so I'm taking them, and it's like, well, at the time I couldn't swim worth a shit. And I'm sitting here thinking, now wait a minute, if I get knocked overboard, I'm done. I am dead. So I thought, well, I'll go and join the Army instead, right? Maybe I'll get lucky. They'll put me out in the desert somewhere, which is, and I'll request it if I can. I'll tell them I went out in the desert. So I did exactly that. I joined up in the Army, told them I wanted out in the desert. And they actually agreed with me. They said, okay, your first permanent duty station will be Fort Hood, Texas, which is out in the desert. What they didn't tell me.
It's not in the desert.
Well, Fort Hood, Texas is.
That's rolling hill country.
But it's still, we went out in the desert to train. But anyway, point being, all right, what they didn't tell me though, is that my first basic and AIT training would be in the hills of Kentucky. All right, so what they done was they took me down here to Fort Knox, Kentucky, which is not far from where I live now, ironically. And they took me to Fort Knox, Kentucky, and they marched us into this big old building. And there was this huge ass ladder that just kept going up and up and up as far as you could see, right? Couldn't see nothing else because it's all boarded off. All you could see is this big ass ladder climbing to infinity, right? Like everybody climbed the ladder. You know, I'm a good soldier, so I climbed the ladder. I get up to the top of the fucking ladder, and you know what it was? It was a fucking diving board. It was a fucking diving board. That's what it was. Now here I am. I can't swim worth a shit, right? I'm on this diving board. Nowhere else to go because I got all these troops behind me. So I ain't got nowhere to go. I can't turn around and go back. So what they told me to do, they said, you got to take your pants and you got to hold it by the belt loops and you got to hold it out to here. All right. So I'm holding on to my belt loops out to here. And then they said, just hold your breath, close your eyes, and jump into the water. So I did that. Okay, well, somewhere along the way, I must have lost the belt loops because I went straight to the fucking bottom because I had absolutely no body fat at all. Because I remember, 115 pounds soaking wet with rocks in my pockets. Went straight to the bottom. It took 3 Navy SEALs to pull my happy ass out of the goddamn swimming pool. All right, lesson learned. Okay, by them and me. But that was my only experience with water, thankfully. After that, I was at Fort Hood, and we went out in the desert and we trained. I was an armor crewman, and so I took my tank out there in the desert and we did live fire and shit, and that was fun. Then all of a sudden, all the training dried up, and all we were doing was Susie Homemaker every day. And I went to my LT. I said, "What's going on?" He's like, "We ain't got funds." I'm like, "You kidding?" He's like, "No." So I went to the captain. I said, "What's going on?" He said the same thing. He said, "We ain't got funds." I said, "Well, I come here to train. You know, I'm here to do a job." And they're like, "Well, you can get a transfer." I said, "Okay, well, how long will it take?" They said, "Anywhere from 6 months to a year." I'm like, "Oh, shit. What do I do?" And he said, "Well, you can go and work for the government in a civilian capacity." And I'm like, "How long would that take?" He said, "Oh, well, that's immediate. You'd start immediately." I'm like, "Okay, I'll do that then." And that's exactly what I done. You know, so when people see RE3 and JHJ on my ticket, it doesn't mean that I was a washout. All it means is that I transferred over to civilian work. That's all it means. You know, but everybody's on the internet saying, "Oh, he's a washout. He's scrubbed. He's no good. He didn't, you know." No, actually, I got several awards while I was in the Army. It's just the idea that I transferred over to civilian capacity. And then that's when the training really began. But I'm not allowed to discuss 95% of that shit. Maybe one of these days when I'm 90,
You
one of these
really transfer from the military and continue your tour as a civilian.
That's what I done. That's what I done.
That's not really a thing.
Well, work it in your mind however you want. Okay, that's all I can tell you. All right, I know what they done for me and what I done for my country, and that's all that matters. Point is, that's what happened. I was never a washout. I was never dishonorably discharged. Nobody hated me. Well, Drill Sergeant Ward didn't like me too much, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, or Staff Sergeant Ward, excuse me. But that's neither here nor there. Point is, I got along with my drill sergeants, CD and Hobbs. I got along great with them. They'll give me a good review. My LT that was in Fort Hood will give me a good review. The captain that was there will give me a good review. Okay, so the trolls can suck my fucking dick. All right, I was not a washout. I served my country honorably and admirably. And
you didn't have an honorable discharge.
Well, I had a general discharge under honorable conditions. That's good enough for me. But it was a transition from military to the civilian. That's all it was. And that's all. That's, you know, it ain't no big deal. It really isn't a big deal. I don't know why these trolls keep harping about, you know, RE3 and JHJ. He's a washout. He ain't no good. Blah 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 blah. No, had nothing to do with any of that shit. Not at all. Not at all. And you know, like I said, if we'd have kept going out to the field, I'd still be at Fort Hood to this day. Well, probably not to this day because I've probably got another tour, another permanent duty station after that. But still, you know, I'd still be in. You know, the only reason I got out is because their funding stopped. You know, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't their fault.